Hello and good morning to West Coast, good UTC to those of us around the rest of the world. I'm Lalayo Pearson. I head up our commerce and consumer product team here at Miston Labs, and it is honestly a massive, massive pleasure for me to host these two incredibly familiar faces today and talk a little bit about what crazy things, frankly, they are doing and utilizing a decentralized stack, Sui and Walrus for. Before we get going, I would love folks if I don't think you need introductions, but it might be useful if you could reintroduce yourselves and tell our audience a little bit about what you're doing. Maybe starting with you, Eli.
Hi, I'm Eli Roth. I'm a filmmaker and producer and sometime actor, and I started a company called The Horror Section that we raised money for on Republic and with Sui as our blockchain, and we're going to be basically making and distributing and producing our own movies. We have a movie out now called Dream Eater that we released. We have a movie out called Jimmy and Stiggs that we put out in August that's on VOD, and I'm in post-production on the first movie I directed for the company called Ice Cream Man. So we're moving. It's fun. Having a good time.
We're going to come back a little bit to your vision around the horror section and the way that you're releasing those movies. But maybe just to hand over to you, Ron, can you introduce yourself to the world?
Well, thought I needed no introduction, but okay, we'll play your little game. I'm Ron Perlman. Been in this crazy business for around 50 years now. It's like, I know I'm only 29, so that's the math doesn't work. But,
yeah.
Today I'm launching a studio, a new movie studio called ASYLM Studios. It'll be announced perhaps even before we get off the air here. Something I've been working on for a little bit north of 2 years since the actors went on strike. Mm-hmm. And what I'm looking to do is create an environment that me and every other artist I've ever worked with longs for, which rewards, which is characterized by love and honesty and respect for our contributions, and then participating in all of the upside of the hopefully of the profits we generate in a way that has never been seen before. It'll be an artist collective. There will be no executive privilege level whatsoever. We will have, of course, administration and legal, like all studios do, but nobody will be taking $500 million and putting it in their pocket every year while they claim they can't make a profit.
I love that. I have to say, I can hear the edge. It's like here, the revolution energy that comes across from both of you. But maybe let's dig in a little bit more into ASYLM, starting with you, Ron. And like, what specific issues are you hoping to address with this new studio format? And maybe at a very high level, why did you look to blockchain to help with that, and Sui and Walrus specifically?
Well, blockchain is something that I got introduced to rather recently, but it really is the perfect support system for the transparency that we're looking to lead with. Blockchain disables any human tampering. The numbers are sacrosanct. There's no hiding the football. There's no spinning anything. It reports things completely as they are. And when you're looking to honestly include your workforce into a kind of a real revenue sharing scenario, there couldn't be a more perfect modality to perform that. So that's the partners that we're working with in Waterfall introduced us to that concept, and it was the synergy between their vision about, you know, the obvious answer to all of the melees in the movie business right now starts with disingenuousness, starts with never getting anybody to tell you the real skinny about anything. It's just terribly opaque. It always has been. It's very secretive, and it interferes with, I feel like, the trust that needs to be the leading factor in the art form. because after all, we're here to explore the human condition, and you can't do that around a series of veils and secrecy and lying.
I completely hear that. And it sounds very familiar to the conversations we had earlier this year, Eli, when you launched the horror section. And it's kind of crazy. We spoke maybe 6 months ago about this, and you've already got 2 films out and another ready to go. So what have you found to be the kind of the motivating factors for you to kind of build out the horror section in this particular way on this kind of stack, essentially, tech stack?
Sure. I mean, I think, Ron nailed it when he talked about the transparency, is that, you talk about people rewriting history or what happened. You can make a movie, you'll make it for $1 million. You see that it's making $50 million at the box office, and someone's telling you, God, we lost $20 million on that. You go, but how? And then you go through this sort of, you either have to litigate or just hope that some of it comes through. But the problem is, it's funny. I was just reading about Argentina just today, just reformed their electoral system for more transparency, because before you'd go into a dark room and sign a thing, it was all meant to obfuscate, and that's how the film industry was. So when you have blockchain, what always interested me about blockchain, first, other than the obvious tech solutions of, let's say we want to order movies and use coins and pay stuff by the second, the way that I was looking at BTC, BSV, Ethereum, Sui, like all these different things, thinking that this is going to be a way that you can't hide money from people, that you can say, this is what the split is. $1 came in from the box office. You've pre-agreed what the split is. You get this, you get this, you get this, and you don't have to wait years for it to go through. So I think the frustration that we were feeling was, not only is there the creative interference from people who sometimes are smart, but most of the time are justifying their jobs. I have to give them notes or otherwise they'll get fired. But what I saw is, for example, TV shows, like there'll be a TV, and I'm not going to pick on a specific show, but FX and Hulu. So they'll make a deal with you, the actor, go, we're going to put you on an FX, go, we're going to pay you this rate every time it airs on FX. Every time it airs on FX. They'll air it once, then they'll sell it to Hulu. And you get a one-time payment, and then they'll stream it 1 billion times. So you see, like, that happened with Netflix. You see that with Suits. I saw it with my movie Thanksgiving, where I make the movie with Sony. It's the #1 selling Blu-ray, and then it goes right to Netflix. That's part of the Sony deal. But if people can watch it 1 billion times, it doesn't matter. Whereas, 5-10 years ago, before the streamers, you get residuals. That's how you made your money in between movies, was you could do that. So I think what Ron and I both were feeling separately, I was doing it with horror movies, and Ron is obviously a different, much broader artistic sense, from, incredible breadth of experience, is that we're feeling that frustration of, you work all this thing, you create something, and you make a tech company rich, and it's just the artists are getting squeezed. And then the tech companies are making these $300 million deals with 1 or 2 people, and everyone else, they're like, sorry, we don't have anything. So we did feel like it was our contribution and our work that built up these streaming platforms, and then we get nothing out of it. So we're trying to find alternate ways for content creators. So I'm really excited to, about what Ron's doing and to hear more about ASYLM. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come back to ASYLM in a minute, but just thinking about in your genre, the way that you're doing that then, because I remember you made a really key point earlier in the year when you first launched this, around the way that horror fans, they kind of almost grow to love a title or a
It's
franchise
like
more over time.
more
Like
over
there's
time.
more loyalty.
The value. I mean, you look at, Terrifier is the perfect example, because everyone goes, wow, how did Terrifier 3 make $100 million? Well, the character of Art the Clown appeared in a short film in 2009 called The Ninth Circle. Art the Clown was in an anthology movie called All Hallows Eve in 2011. Art the Clown was in a $35,000 movie called Terrifier from 2016 that sort of sat on a streaming service called Screambox. It wasn't until Terrifier 2 that, people had spent years, it's like 15 years to build up to Terrifier. Now, sometimes it's overnight, like Weapons or Sinners, and the movie hits a chord, or, Oz Perkins films, Longlegs. And then other times it's just, you never know. Like we are doing them low enough, you can make your money back in theatrical run. But now, like Jimmy and Stiggs made some money in theaters, but now it's doing really well in VOD. Dream Eater made double its budget opening weekend, but now that title will live. So the great thing about horror is that the titles, like wine or baseball cards, the titles get more valuable. The perfect example is Final Destination 5. That's a 25-year-old title. People love it. They know what it is. And as long as the movie delivers, people are there. So I wanted to build a company that was like Marvel for monsters, where Now we have Dream Eater, Jimmy and Stiggs, Ice Cream Man, two other movies that, like, you're building a library of titles that we don't know where these titles are going to go. 25 years from now, those could be the biggest things in horror. That's the beauty of horror. So that was my pitch, was just create IP that we can aggregate under one label to make the label valuable.
And I think this connects back to ASYLM, Ron, because my understanding is you're really passionate about the creator and the way the artistry comes together, and also having the freedom of deciding what it is that will connect with an audience, and not having that necessarily like constantly commanded from other sources, and then being able to kind of build the fair compensation for everybody who works on it, right?
Right.
So tell us a little. I mean, I'll expand the question. Ask an actual question.
But yeah, but so much more is bothering me about the way things are right now. So ASYLM is well, anyway, I don't mean to interrupt you, please.
No, I wanted to draw out your whys a little bit more, because I think, I guess for a lot of the people listening, this is kind of a partial like why story, and then a little bit about the tech. But I think your whys are really powerful as to why the tech is such a good fit.
I mean, the tech part of it is how to get the art to the public. That's kind of like a mathematical equation. You don't want to have a tree fall in the forest and no one is there to hear it, because then you don't know whether it ever made a sound or not. So, our partnership with Waterfall gives us a platform on which to, like-minded models with regard to honesty and transparency, working to support each other. Mm-hmm. So, my job is to be the content creator for and hand them over as much stuff that blows our minds as possibly can. Yeah. The blowing of the mind part is where it all starts for me, because I feel like, for me, cinema is a religion, and I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that in a dismissible kind of a way. Cinema is the greatest form to shine a light on the human condition, and the greatest way for all of us to celebrate our collective consciousness. There's never been another art form that did it as magnificently and as effectively as cinema. And where we've arrived in this moment in time is a diminishment of the grandeur and the pageantry and the glory of that promise. A diminishment to such a degree where I'm no longer down with playing the game, because there's always been a tremendous amount of tension between management and labor, even back in the studio days. The moguls, needed to assert their authority and their control before they would relinquish the resources that the artists need to make the magic. But at the end of the day, they rooted for filmmakers. Mm-hmm. They loved movies, and they were family businesses, so they had a pride of ownership. We've arrived at a time right now where all of the people who are responsible for giving us the resources we need to do the very same things that cinema has always done are run by people who really don't even like fucking movies. They don't like cinema. They're just there to brand, their ability to sell books or iPhones or whatever the fuck it is they're selling. And so they're so little afield for the art form that they're relying on reverse engineering, which is called algorithms, which is where they take them and they think they're going to know what the audience wants, and so they give the audience what they think they want, instead of rewarding originality and people who have real vision, people who are looking to tread on territory that's never been tread on before. That's the one of the fundamental things that pisses me off. Yeah. they're like Eli just said, there's 200 or 300 people that keep getting all the work that they're shoving millions and millions of dollars in front of at the expense of everyone else in the business.
Yeah.
Everybody I know is losing that because there's so little work, crew people, for tech people, for middle level anything. There is no more middle level anything. It's just the haves, which you can count on, a few fingers, and the have-nots. So the combination of diminishing the scope and the grandeur of the art form, along with what they've done with our ability to live the American dream, which is to raise our children and retire with dignity, is a non-starter for me. And all I try to do was imagine a world where the focus is reshifted, and the reward system and the environment around which art is made is placed in the right hands, and not in the hands of people who are fly by night, quarterly profit driven.
Yeah, I think that's a big point for me. Like as I've, kind of worked with yourselves, and then we've worked with other kind of film industry brands and products, one of the key themes that keeps coming back is that ability to kind of shift the ownership structures a lot more. And I think that's both for creators, but also for fans. And I know, Eli, you talked about having used Republic at the beginning of the year and having this focus on, I think it's not necessarily fans telling you what to make, but fans feeling more connected and feeling like they're co-owners in what you're making. And I think with Waterfall, ASYLM is also going for that similar thing of kind of like giving fans the ability to say, hey, we want to be a part of it. And maybe we'll even put our own money in because this means something to us. But yeah, tell us more about that decision to kind of fundraise with fans in using a platform that's kind of like a typical financial investment structure, really.
Well, what was interesting was the way I saw, because someone first brought it up to me, and you think, well, I can get funding from anywhere for a horror film. Why would I do crowdfunding? And they go, well, this is different. You're not just asking people for money to kickstart your thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is, if you're at a different, stage of your career or a different level, or you want to, you don't want to do a kickstart necessarily when you could just go to a company and get money. But when they said you're basically offering a percentage of your company to the public so that people can invest, so that average people can invest in your films, that was really exciting to me. Because before, you had to be an accredited institution or trader, you needed $1 million or $2 million. But what if, because I go to these conventions, the fan conventions, all the time, Ron sees it too. People will wait in line for your autograph, and they'll pay money, and they want memorabilia. What if they could pay $100 and now they're a part, even fractionally, owner of Ice Cream Man? So that money can come back to them in a way. Like, my dream is that someone invests $1,000 into the horror section, and not only make their money back, that they make a couple $1,000s, and they go, I can't believe that I actually made money when you made money. That when a horror film like a Terrifier, or if I have a Hostel size hit, that the fans that supported you didn't just buy a ticket. They didn't just buy a 4K. They didn't just buy an autograph. They actually have fractional ownership. Because if I was, growing up and I was a horror fan, I was 20 years old, and there was a director that I loved, and I had $100 to bet on that director. So I felt that connection to every project they released. And it wasn't just about one movie. It was ownership at the corporate level, and it was identical to my ownership. It might be less, but it's identical. It's the same level for everyone. To me, it really was like the ultimate version of involving the fans, offering a piece of your company to them. And what it also does is it gives your company a valuation. Now, if you ever go to build a library of movies in 10 years, 20 years, let's say we have 50, 75 titles we own, you've set what the valuation for your company is. We said we're selling it at $3.08 a share. The value is $55 million. People buy at that valuation. That is the value of your company. I don't have to get a third party in to say, what is the horror section worth? Today, as of right now, the valuation is $55 million. So where are we going to be 3 years from now if we want to raise institutional money, if we want to sell it at some point? So there were all these really interesting things that I thought, you know what, this is worth innovating and doing it, partnering with Sui to help us figure out what's the smartest way to use blockchain, to keep those records, to keep it transparent, in the way that that other people are, Rod is talking about helping share with the crew, which I know Coleman Domingo was doing that with his film that he made and with Sing Sing. And everybody, a lot of us feel that way, going, how do we share in the upside of this? But now the first thing is like getting the upside to share is the problem. But to me, it was about, that's why I want to release and distribute my own stuff. I don't want a middle person telling me they spent it all in advertising. I want to be in charge of every dollar spent. So it's like when you put Ron in charge of a studio, this guy has so much experience with independents, with major studio movies, doing television shows. I mean, he really understands all of it. So he's going to know exactly the ways they hide and the problems there are and how to solve it. So my idea was to make the fans part of it. So whenever you release a movie, you have 2,500 people incentivized to see it work.
It's a key part of it. There is research out there that if you feel ownership in something, you're not just gonna, own it and keep quiet. You're gonna advocate for it. So you're probably gonna, improve the likelihood that a bunch of people will go to the actual theater to watch it and will take steps to make the film commercially viable. And I think, as Eli said, Ron, your experience here is key, because I think for myself as a film fan, and as we've been talking to film industry, I have very strange film tastes, and I like this random film and that random film. And I watched on the weekend, I hadn't heard anything about One Battle After Another, and I walked into a cinema cold and watched it, and it was like, wow, what the hell have I just seen? But it was super exciting. And sometimes the thing that I miss is people actually coming up with those crazy film ideas and putting it in front of me so that I can be like, let me come towards that. So in your vision for the way in which you're going to use ASYLM, how do you want to use that freedom that you have to kind of push for this new ideas, new artistry, new film types? Are you going to be in one type of film, like the horror section, where you kind of know your audience? Are you going to kind of have a broader bench? What are you going to do to bring out that creative idea and spirit? What's it going to be known for?
Well, my fundamental question is, after, if I succeed in creating the environment that, I'm clumsily trying to explain here, my first question to the artists that like the sound of it and reach out to us is, what do you want to do? I'm creating a space, I'm creating resources. What do you want to do? And that's where the tail is no longer wagging the dog. It's the other way around. It's just to create an environment that is such a paradise for filmmakers in the most uninterfered with way, and in the most fair-minded way, and in a way that infuses respect and reward and truthfulness and honesty, that why would they want to work anywhere else? And then my question is, okay, I'm a huge fan, or if it's a young kid who's never made a movie before, but he did something on YouTube or TikTok, provide a space and a collective of artists that can help that kid figure out how to write a perfect screenplay, and not only write it, but execute it. So that's, it's not what I want to do. It's what I want to provide for the community of artists that I have come to be so privileged to be working alongside over these last 50 years. And knowing what the interferences are, and just my job is to move all that shit out of the way and provide a clear runway for the guys who know how to, because it's not just artists. I mean, it's there's a producer on every film I've ever made, and it's a guy who knows how to bring the movie in on time and on budget, so he's disciplined. But his other job is to make sure that the director's vision is respected and makes it onto the screen. So we're not kids who are flailing around with, just doing whatever we want. There is a real discipline behind it. There's a real respect for the resources that we're applying, because we want to sustain ourselves, and we want to play another day. We want to live to play for hundreds and hundreds of years. So there will be a fundamental respect for the financial structure of everything.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about that. But at the end of the day, it'll be a visionary paradise for artists to come and spread their wings and share their visions.
I love that. You paint a picture of like a place where all ideas flourish. I guess the hard numbers, and this is thinking a little bit about Waterfall. So Waterfall is using Walrus and Sui, but essentially is going to put the rights and distribution on chain. So this means whatever the payment and the deal structure and the rights to do X, Y, to stream, to show, to platform, all of that will be available for anyone to query. But also it means that things like tracking income, right, are going to be also very, very transparent, which is similar to, I think, what you're doing. So how do you explain that, I would say, to like the artists, or how have you found explaining that to the artists and the film crews that you want to work with? Are they intimidated by it because they're like, blockchain scary? Are they moving towards it because they're just so ready for change? Is it something in between? What has been the reaction, especially maybe for people like yourself who's super experienced in this industry? But this tech just feels like all the way over there, right? So how is that? How are you bringing those two things together?
Is that for me or Eli?
I'm starting with you, but I'm going to give the same question to Eli as well.
Yeah, I think anybody who realizes the power of transparency and that there's an instrument that will deliver that in an unequivocal manner that can't be argued with. It takes out, all of the bad impulses in people to just like, cover their butts within a series of a veil of opaqueness. I think anybody who really understands how powerful that instrument is in infusing the honesty back into the equation. I needed educating. I didn't know what blockchain was. I didn't know its power. And once it was explained to me, I went, oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to come at it the way I want to come at it, this is the obvious instrument in which to create the fairest of playing fields you've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And for you, Eli, I guess you've now had experience of starting to put some of that on chain, starting to have to encourage other people to use it in that way. What have you found as, how has it been for you bringing creatives in the film world to this tech and like marrying those two things?
Well, the first thing I'm doing is focusing on the content. And then sort of like we were just like the Rays just closed and then we were shooting. So our feeling was let's get the movies out, let's do this. And then we will, and we're already working with Sui because what I want to do is slowly introduce it. And the first time you do it, it has to be really simple and it has to work. So if I say, yeah, we're going to do it on chain, people just, whoa, they tune out. Like think about, I remember the leap from editing on film to editing on video, or you make a leap like we were all editing in an edit room, and then everyone said, we're now going to do remote editing on Evercast. And you're like, what is that? I've never done that. And they go, well, try it once because of COVID, and you log in the thing and then you do it. And now it's like, why would I drive into the edit room when I can just wake up, edit at 7 a.m? Like my editor I'm working with now is in Toronto. I'm editing remotely and it's completely natural. I don't even notice that we're not in the room together. It's all fine. So it's like, remember when we were all so scared to buy stuff online? They're like, you can't shop online. They're going to have your credit card. Or the first time I used Apple Pay, I was like, what is that? What are people doing with their phone? Wait, why would I put my credit card? Now the thought of taking my credit card out of my wallet, I was like, why would I ever do that? I just ding it with my phone. So to me, it's like with Sui, okay, here's, we're going to show box office, we're going to show transparency. We're going to have this merchandise, we're going to have this contract, we're going to have, here's an exclusive poster for Ice Cream Man. We're going to put the movie out next year. So what we're doing now is we get the movie. I think if you make it like nobody was using locator stuff until Pokemon Go, like you got to have the Pokemon Go aspect of, here's a poster, here are exclusive assets that we're putting on chain for you to go get. So you're getting people, you download this, you go here, you get that. And everyone can do it. And they go, now we're going to drop a trailer. Go here, go there, go that. It's changing habits. and it's building a super simple path to it. And they go, well, if you can put a trailer, what about, can you also do that? Now you're going to
Yeah.
see the revenue. We're going to see the distribution through this way. Now you're going to do that. If you try to do everything at once, people will tune it. It's like NFTs
Yeah.
and doing it on 5 different chains, and now I can sell it on OpenSea. And I don't like, unless you're really in that world, you're just going to forget you even own it and lose your password like I did. So I
Yeah.
think it's really, to me, it's gamifying it at first
Yeah.
and giving a reward at the end of it, because people will go, that's a fucking cool thing. Where did you
Yeah.
get it?
Yeah.
You went through these 3 steps to get it. But what
Yeah.
you're really doing is you're sort of getting everyone comfortable with the concept of it and
Yeah.
slowly teaching them. It's like, I remember seeing Microsoft Word for the first time, and I was like, it was overwhelming. I didn't know how to type, because I was like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to erase and copy paste. And then it was like
Yeah.
margins. And now after, 30 years, I can barely, and then it's like, oh, pages comes, I have to learn that. Like every time there's a new thing, you're like, but
Your brain
then
does.
you
Yeah.
do it once, you do little baby steps every time. It's like Photoshop. After a while, it becomes second nature. So for me,
Yeah.
it's taking the scary out of it. And I think the best way to do it is to humanize it with something artistic on the other side, and a simple
Yeah.
set of breadcrumbs to get there. And then people go back again, and then it's nothing. It's like teaching my parents how to use text messages. Then I go, we're moving the whole family to a WhatsApp group. And they're like, what? Don't
Yeah.
email me your videos, mom. Post them in the WhatsApp group. So everyone goes, oh, okay. Like it's just doing it that way.
It's funny you say that, because that's expressing so much of so from a Mist and Labs perspective, we put a lot of time in simplicity, user experience, in this kind of, you shouldn't just be kind of pushing blockchain for blockchain's sake. It's all about experiences that leverage that tech. And I think, we've obviously worked with you guys, and we've got companies like MoviePass. We've got a product called Mogul, exactly as you said, gamifying. You can play the game of guessing like box office outcomes at the end of an opening weekend, or figure out who's going to be able to be the next star that does this thing. And you create different ways to engage, and it just so happens to be using the tech, but the actual
Yes.
front door is more about connecting the human to their like content, the things that they enjoy and they love. I guess on that, I'd love to ask both of you, like, you are obviously very focused, very committed to the things that you're building and changing for the industry. Based on what you've learned and understood about what might be possible, what else would you love to see other people do? Like, what other parts of the industry could do with this kind of reimagination, using different types of tech on chain differently, that would complement the work that you're doing? If you've had a thought that you wish there was a X or a Y that was available to you, have you had those thoughts? Have you come across those gaps yet yourselves? For either of you?
Ron, you want to go first? You want me to?
No, definitely not.
All right, then I'll go. So you can think of something. No, look, I've seen what I've been trying to do, and there's a company called WeShort out of Italy that
Okay.
we've been working with. They're a global platform where I think Ron and I both feel like there's gold in the democratization of the film process and in giving new voices. That's what makes it vital. It's not that you've got your corner of the market and you're the voice and that's it. It's that every now and then a Jordan Peele comes along with a Get Out. It's like all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? What was that movie? I saw the TV glow. That was, who did that? Like it's new voices, and horror is a great way for people to try out ideas. We wanted to, I would love to do something that, with We Short, we're doing contests to find, where we'll give someone a development deal where people can shoot something on their phone and submit it, and then everyone votes for it, and there's like a democratization, but somehow using finding ways for blockchain where it's all organized in one spot. Right now it's on this, and you'd have to know to go there, but creating a spot where it's like the horror section where people can share their work, so they're not just putting it out on their YouTube channel, or they're just putting it out on this, but giving people a destination like a We Short or something that's like, oh, these are the horror section of proofs, finding some way that we
Yeah.
can tap into that talent and there's other people that are writers. How do you help them with screenwriting? Because the thing about watching a short is it takes 5 minutes. Watching a screenplay takes an hour. Reading a screenplay take an hour, 3 hours. So you know, it's much more labor intensive. So you want to make sure that that's going to be good. It's why it needs to be, you know, it's why people have agents, because at least there's one layer of someone read this before me. So I know it's professionally written. But I think that finding a way to give everybody, because everybody has a phone, everybody has a platform now. And look, they're coming up with stuff on, I couldn't have predicted TikTok or YouTube or any of the stuff that's happening. And then there'll be something else that comes along. That's the way people, but it's all creative expression, but just helping people get to express themselves creatively and also get it to that community, but to then, with the objective of us, with Ron, people like myself, helping turn it into, you know, a professional project, because you do need, as he said, you need a producer, you need someone experienced, you need someone to help you navigate that world. It's very different making a 5-minute short from making a 90-minute feature. So, or turning an idea, this would be a cool TV show, into actually figuring out what it would take to make it a TV show that goes multiple seasons. So helping bridge that gap is something I'm very interested in. It's why I like working with young directors.
No, absolutely. And I guess, Ron, maybe less from a technical perspective, but I certainly imagine that.
Yeah, that's a good idea when you're coming to me. I'm like, I still have a reel-to-reel answering machine in my house, you know. So, you know.
I love that. I love that. There's a whole bunch of people who wouldn't be able to recognize one of those.
Yeah.
But I guess given the breadth of your experience, and even like the fact that you're channeling that into, right, I'm not having it anymore, I'm changing things. I imagine, you know, is it that you're going to change everything and this ambition is massive and you're going to tackle on like the biggest studios and stand next to them? Or are there other things that you would love to see other people stand up and start to change as well that will improve these things that you care about, like the transparency and the ways in which creators get paid and they work with each other on film content?
I feel as though, I mean, in my 75 years on the planet, I'm kind of obsessed with justice juxtaposed against injustice. And, you know, to me, the biggest sin you can create are those who are so wrapped up in profits that they lose all of their morality and they lose all of their empathy in the search of that. And so whenever something becomes a corporation, the first thing that they do in order to maintain their leverage and their power is to diminish the value of the workforce.
Yeah.
And this is the way they, you know, they keep you in line. This is the way they make sure, you know, not to be too public about what your opinions are, you know, and they stultify humanity. In the case of cinema, humanity is the driving force. We're here to, you know, take a look at this so that it resonates on every continent and every corner of the world. That's what great art does.
Yeah.
And when the disconnect between the people who are, you know, in control of the company that creates all of this beauty is gotten to the point where it is now, then to answer your question, the cynicism, the end result is that you have a populace that feels shitty about themselves because everywhere they look, they're being reminded that they have less and less value. Yeah. And then, you know, all of the indignities that come along with it, like now AI, you know, we're all going to be replaced. You know, I just saw an announcement where one of the big streamers is just letting 3,000 people go, or is it 30,000 or is it 300,000? I can't remember. But it's like these people have enough money to last past the end of days, and they're downsizing. And it's like, if you don't think that leads to a malaise in the society, that leads to everybody being so grievous oriented and angry that they've been that their value has been diminished everywhere they turn, and that doesn't affect our socioeconomic leadership, then you're selling yourself a bill of goods. So my whole thing is, maybe I can build a model which is completely labor owned and labor operated, and it's an homage to the people who do all of the work, all of the imagining, all of the innovating, and them finally being in first position to get all of the rewards.
Yeah.
Maybe other industries will look at that and go, hey, you can be altruistic and also profitable at the same time. You can be, you can promote humanity and respect and love thy neighbor and all this shit we're supposed to be, abiding by, and still have a viable company that's vital and that keeps replenishing itself. That's the experiment that I'm working on right now. But I am really concerned about how everywhere we turn, the individual human contribution is being more and more diminished. And that just leads to really, really bad things that can happen in a country or a world.
Here, I feel very, very motivated to change that. I have to say, Ron, we're getting ready to wrap up. I'd love to maybe hear a couple of final words from you both. I feel very motivated by what you just said. I want to build and like grow into it. But what do you want to leave the audience with about what you're doing, what you're building, and maybe where they can learn a little bit more about it and join you on this mission? I'll start with you, Ron, as you've kind of just given us such a great call to action here.
Look, there's going to be, maybe it already dropped, but there's going to be a big announcement today about the launch of ASYLM Studios. We finally identified our first slate of films. We've identified a way to pay for them. We've identified what the distribution is going to look like. We're experimenting with, I'm not trying to change anything as much as I'm trying to restore when the movie industry was functioning at its most effective level. And I'm a guy who believes that theatrical releases where 2,000 strangers sit in a darkened room like one does in church or in synagogue or in a mosque is tremendous value. It's also a phenomenal revenue stream, which has been left off the table by the current system we're in, which is nothing but home entertainment. And so I can't remember what your question was, and I don't know whether I just answered it.
You did answer it. So ASYLM dropping today, and people can learn about ASYLM Studios, your upcoming slate of films, and I believe ASYLM and Waterfall will help connect back to the fan and the creator ownership experience, both built on Walrus.
Built on transparency and respect.
100%. I love that. Thank you. And Eli, what final words, and where can people learn more about the horror section?
They can go to Horror Section Studios. We're on all social, and you can just look up the Horror Section on our website, but Horror Section Studios on our Instagram and has all our videos. And yeah, check out Dream Eater in theaters and Jimmy and Stiggs in VOD, and get ready for Ice Cream Man. I'm trying to do the stuff that's so crazy. Studios are like, why would we? This is too nuts. No one will ever, like, that's too much for us. That's the lane. That's the zone we love. And the stuff that's totally out there. Dream Eater is a movie these guys made it for $40,000. And I said, yeah, we're putting this in theaters. And people are calling it the scariest movie of 2025. So it's fantastic. It's great. It's really exciting just to help get new voices out there, shake things up a little bit. But check out the movies. I think you'll like them.
I cannot wait.
Amen, brother.
And support ASYLM. I mean, this is incredible. There's
Absolutely.
Go on public, check out the offering, and support Ron and everything he's doing. It's really incredible.
Thank you,
It
sir.
is an immense privilege to share this time with you both. Thank you for sharing your vision, trusting that you can build them on the Sui stack. For our audience, I want to say thank you for the time. We obviously at Miston Labs, we care a lot about building the future of the internet. And I think the storytelling that we are seeing with Eli and Ron here about the values that they want to bring through their products, that's kind of what we're here for. We're here to build systems that kind of give that equity back, that ownership back. but they're real, they're transparent, they provide infrastructure for a much better technological internet that we can all participate in and hopefully retain a little bit of our humanity. So if you care about that as well and you want to know more about these projects or other movie projects like Mogul by Movie Pass, please follow Sui Network. Please do follow our Walrus protocol, and you'll see a ton of stuff coming through about all the various projects and so forth. But thank you again for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to go to the cinema.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure.